Hi, this is Sue Jackson, and I'm here today with another Friday Reads. And yes, I am wearing flannel. Had to break the flannel out this morning because it's pretty chilly here. Only going up into the low 60s, though it's a beautiful sunny fall day. It was 75 on the weekend, and now we've got nights that are I think it got down to about 42 last night. We had to turn the heat on. We've got house guests as well, so I turned the heat on. Before I jump into my reading update, I just wanted to give you a quick update on my personal life because I mentioned a couple of things in last week's video. I mentioned that I was planning a big surprise for my husband's 70th birthday, which was last Friday, the day that my video aired. I couldn't say anything just in case. He occasionally watches my videos. So what happened was it went perfectly. He was very surprised and it went over really well and everything worked just right. So in the morning, and he knew I was planning something and I wouldn't tell him what it was. And he tried to get our son to tell him what it was, and he wouldn't say anything. So he knew something was up, but he didn't know exactly what. So on Friday morning, his birthday, when I came downstairs, I had a small stack of presents for him, mostly books, of course. I gave him the box off the top and said, "You can open this one now," because we usually open presents later in the day. He unwrapped the gift and opened the box, and inside was a stack of papers. And the top one was the confirmation page from Airbnb that says, "Get ready for your trip to," and it showed a picture of this beautiful backyard with a fire pit and Adirondack chairs. And it was this kind of obscure town in Maryland. And he was like, "What?" And the dates said, Saturday to Monday that week. So I said, "Keep looking." And he turned the page, and the next page was a picture of this gorgeous golf course down on Maryland's Eastern Shore, which is a beautiful area. It's right along the Chesapeake Bay. All these really pretty little towns. The bay is gorgeous. And this particular golf course is right out on the bay. Spectacular views. This is a really, really nice golf course. Speaking as the one who paid for it, I can tell you. So he was really surprised about that. And then he turned the next page and there's another golf course down in the same area. And he looks at that. And then at the top, there's the picture of the golf course. And then I had taped on little tiny pictures of him, our son, his best golfing friend locally, and the really big surprise, his high school friend that he loves to golf with, his best friend from high school. The last 2 years, they've been getting together with another of their friends once a year to golf together back in Oklahoma where they all grew up. But, he looked at the picture and said, "Gary's coming into town?" And I said, "His flight will be here in about an hour and a half. You need to go pick him up at the airport." So his mind was blown. And then I said, "When you guys get back into town, there's a tea time for you at your favorite local course today. And then tomorrow morning is the beginning of this trip with the four of you down on the Eastern Shore. These golf courses are supposed to be spectacular." So that's what we did. So we had a small celebration here with his friend Gary and our son Friday night. And then Saturday morning, they all left, went on the golf trip, had an amazing time. Sounds like they partied like they were back in high school in the evenings and really enjoyed the golf courses during the day. It just worked out perfectly. So that was all. I was so excited it all worked out. So he had a fabulous time this weekend. And as long as I had the house to myself, I decided to kind of take stock of my life. This is something I know I needed to do. For the last couple of years, really, I've been feeling really overwhelmed, really stressed and under pressure, which is not good for my health, makes my chronic illness worse. And for a long time, I've been saying to myself, something has to change, but I haven't really known what to do or what to change. So I sat down and made a bunch of lists. And when I told one of my closest friends this, she just laughed and said, "That's the Sue Jackson we all know and love." I'm a good list maker. So I listed of the things that I'm doing now, particularly for work, but also my life in general. What do I enjoy? What do I not enjoy? What do I maybe dread when I have to do it? What things are working in my life? What feels like it's not working? What do I want? Ideally, what do I want my life to look like? And then I set all that aside and went outside and worked in the garden for an hour or so, just to kind of let everything marinate. And I did have kind of a light bulb moment when a little bit of a breakthrough, I guess. I'm 11 years younger than my husband. So for a long time, I've been saying to myself, when I retire, I knew exactly what I wanted our lives to look like. We'll travel a lot. We'll, with our camper, my writing will be mostly travel writing. And the light bulb moment this weekend was, and it was in part because of my husband's birthday as well, plus this feeling like I've been overwhelmed. I suddenly thought, why am I waiting until someday? So we want to be traveling more. And I just realized, why wait? This is the time to do that. I don't actually earn that much money right now with what I'm doing. I mean, I have a few income streams through my freelance career that I want to keep up, but not really contributing a whole lot. I don't necessarily want to quit working or retire in that sense of the word because I'm passionate about what I do. But my husband just turned 70. As much as we love our new camper, it's still a lot of work. And much of it is work that requires someone tall and strong, neither of which is me. And yeah, I just realized this is silly. We should be doing this ideal life I've got pictured. We should be doing that now. So in terms of my career, that led to another breakthrough. I don't have to make some huge, giant changes to my life. I can do things in small steps. It doesn't have to be all at once. And if I change something and I'm not happy with it, I can change it again. Yeah, so I realized I was thinking too rigidly about the future and too far into the future. So what does that mean here? Don't worry. One of the decisions I came to is that making videos, being a part of YouTube, interacting with all of you, those are some of the things that I really enjoy, that bring me joy and connection. Those are some of the things I actually want to keep and maybe emphasize. I'm pulling back a little bit on my blogs. I will still be maintaining both of them. I'm not quitting either of them completely. My book blog, I'm going down to just my Monday update post, kind of the blog equivalent of my Friday reads. I enjoy doing that, and there's a lot of interaction with other bloggers and readers, which I really enjoy. And I've noticed that other bloggers only do one post a week, so I'm going to do that for a while, which means I'm not going to be trying to write reviews anymore. I haven't been keeping up very well anyway. This year, my big shift was you don't have to review every book, just review the ones you like the best. But even that, I'm having trouble keeping up with and finding the time for. Bottom line is I have been trying to do way too much, spreading myself too thin, and I don't have enough focus. So I want to focus more on YouTube, in part because it is something that's easier to do on the road than blogging. Although I do at least need cell service, which we didn't have at the last park we stayed at. But yeah, so next year I want to be traveling more. We've also already got a couple of trips mentally planned that we need to make reservations for. And my writing and videos will include more travel content. But don't worry, I'm certainly going to continue reading, and I love talking to all of you about books, so I plan to keep up the book content as well, and some chronic illness content when it fits in and when it makes sense for me. So the funny thing is that these aren't huge changes, but just this week, and I'm recording this on Thursday, so it's only been 3.5 days that I've implemented this plan, but I have already felt less overwhelmed, less pressured, less stressed. And it's simply because mentally, I'm not thinking I should be doing this and this and this and this. I've kind of moved some things to the back burner, and I think that's going to help me a lot. And that will allow me to keep doing this. Okay, so enough about me. Let's get to the books. I am finally almost finished with Chances Are by Richard Russo. I don't know why it's taken me so long. Well, we do have house guests all this week. My husband's high school friend, he was here for the weekend, but then his wife flew in from Texas on Monday, and they've been here all week. Now, they're off sightseeing every day, but you know, when they're here, we want to spend time with them and engage with them. So I've probably been reading more slowly than usual, but I have really enjoyed this. It's my first Richard Russo. I had told my family he was one of the authors I'd never read before. My son picked this book out for me. He said because the blurb on the back showed that it had some mystery and suspense to it. And that is true. There is a mystery at the center of this, a missing young woman. And I'm guessing this is a characteristic of Richard Russo's writing, the focus is really on the characters and digging in deep. 3 men who were friends in college. They went to a small liberal arts college in Connecticut. They each came from completely different places, different families. They were very different, but they were assigned to be roommates in the first year, and they really bonded. They had this great friendship all through school. And they were also friends with a girl. All 3 of them worked at a sorority house as hashers, like helping out in the kitchen. That was in like the late 1960s, early 70s. Things were very different when I was in a sorority in the 80s. Yeah, we didn't have hashers. We had one cook who came in to cook for us for dinner. But anyway, so there's also a girl who went to the sorority named JC, who also becomes good friends with Lincoln, Mickey, and Ted. When the novel opens, those 3 men are being reunited on Martha's Vineyard, where they spent their last weekend together after graduation. Lincoln's mother was originally from the East Coast, so she had this little cottage on Martha's Vineyard that he has inherited. So they stay in the same cottage where they stayed Memorial Day weekend after they graduated. And it was the 3 of them and JC. And we quickly learn that after that weekend, JC completely disappeared. It's 44 years later, they're 66 now. They don't know what happened to JC. She just disappeared. Her parents never heard from her. She was engaged to be married. Her fiance got a postcard from Martha's Vineyard saying the wedding was off, and he never heard from her again. So that's the mystery at the center. But it's really about these three men and their friendship and what they mean to each other and the way they've each grown and evolved and the things that have stayed the same, as well as by the end of the weekend, they do find out what happened to JC, which is where I am now. So really enjoying this. It is both suspenseful and also, I would call it maybe literary mystery or literary suspense, because it does have the focus on the characters with lots of emotional complexity. So really enjoying it. We'll definitely be reading more from Russo. I'm not sure what I'm going to read next. I should finish that today. I still have a huge stack for RIP season, Readers Imbibing Peril. I'll link below to the Instagram account that runs it. And yeah, so I've got a lot to choose from. On audio, I just want to quickly tell you, I did finish If Something Happens to Me by Alex Finlay, which I talked about last week. Mystery thriller, interestingly, also about a missing young woman. A high school couple, they're seniors, they've been together for 4 years. They're the prom king and queen. They go parking one night. This takes place in Kansas. And suddenly the car door is opened and the girl, Allie, is ripped away. Ryan, the boy, is knocked out, so he doesn't see what happens next. And Allie disappears. No one ever sees her again. And so 5 years later, so there are some similarities, interestingly, between these two books. 5 years later, Ryan has never really recovered from the trauma. He loved Allie. He still wants to know what happened to her. And suddenly, the police back home in Kansas find a new clue, some new evidence. And so the case is reopened. It was excellent. I can understand now why so many people rave about Alex Finlay's books. I really enjoyed it. I was actually sorry when it ended. I wanted more, even though the mystery had been solved. So yeah, excellent. I would definitely recommend that. It was just released in May of this year. Very new for me to be reading. So now I am listening to The Tobacco Wives by Adele Myers. This is our October pick for my book group. And you might remember last time I waited way too late and only had 4 days to read a whole book. So this time I started it early. I requested it on Libby and it was available, so decided to listen right away. So this is historical fiction. It's set just after or right at the end of World War II in North Carolina. And it is about the wives to the big heads of the tobacco companies. So, but what surprised me and what I'm really enjoying is that it's all from the perspective of a 15-year-old girl. I don't remember her name right now, who is working class. And she finds herself thrust into this world of the tobacco wives. She is working for Mrs. Winston. So that gives you some indication of how close how high she is. Her father died in the war. Her mother has not been the same since and drops her off at her aunt's house, which is in the town where the main Winston plant is. I'm trying to think. The brand name of their cigarettes is Bright Leaf. That's the name of their tobacco and the cigarettes. So I think fictionally this is the Bright Leaf Company. And it is fiction. I'll be interested to see if there's an author's note at the end about how much is based on real life. So it's from her perspective. Her aunt is a very talented seamstress who makes dresses and gowns for the tobacco wives. This is how this young girl is getting a glimpse into this very different world. And so she's also becoming a talented seamstress in her own right. She's helping her aunt. It's gala season, whatever that means. And they're making these, really fancy gowns and dresses for the tobacco wives for the gala parties that they attend. I'm enjoying it so far. I wasn't sure I don't think I voted for this one. So I wasn't sure when we chose it. But I like the perspective of the working class girl looking at this upper class, wealthy, very foreign world to her. The other thing that's fascinating and really horrifying is the role that cigarettes play in this story. And, I'm sure in real life at the time and in that place. She says she started smoking when she was 12. Everyone smokes. They're supporting the tobacco company. The tobacco company has just come out with a new product just for women with mint infused into it. So it's not only culturally the role of smoking and tobacco. They've got new ads encouraging expectant mothers to smoke because it will relax them. I mean, yeah, like I said, horrifying. But in terms of the history, you're also seeing what it was like in these tobacco empires for the workers who during the war were mostly women, what they went through, as you can only imagine, and I'm hearing in great detail, that the health risks and damage that they incurred by working there, that of course nobody knew about at the time. So it is both amusing and horrifying to hear these old ads about the benefits of smoking cigarettes from doctors. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm enjoying it. It's a good story, and I think it'll be a good discussion book. So that's what I'm reading this week. Please let me know in the comments down below what you're reading, and take a moment to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already.